Did it again. I did it again. I did it again. All right, everybody.
You did it again, Ed.
I did it again. Okay.
I gotta laugh too.
Every stinking week, I forget to unmute
Just,
my mic.
just in case anybody wants to know, Ed did it again.
Everybody, I did it again. I see we have friends here from all around the world, gold rat and high bankers from Australia. My old prospecting buddy Victor Manzo's here from California, along with Dan, Patrick, Wendy, and David, Mita.
Our buddy Thomas Fowlkes and
Thomas
Victor
Fowlkes. He'll be our guest next week. Gold
Monkey, where are you from?
We have Mark. Yeah, oops, I did it again.
Hey, hey, Paul. Hello, Paul. Mr. Cooper.
Well, at least it isn't Lucky Nugget Joe. All right. Well, what I said in the intro, in my hook, was my voice is a little hoarse. So my prospecting partner in crime, ToledoJess and Rick Madman, is going to have to take up a little more slack with me. Why? I just play mostly engineer tonight. So on that note, why don't you guys come on in here and let's get this ball rolling.
All right. ToledoJess here, and then that was Ed, who did it again. and then Dano. Hi, Dano.
Evening, sir. How are you?
Oh, all right. So how was your weekend? Did we have fun this weekend or what?
I had a good time this weekend. I wish I could have gotten the creek more, but I had a good time.
Yeah, I didn't get much creek time either. I got some Friday, and that was about it. The rest of the weekend was demo at the Gold Rush days.
I spectated a lot. A lot. I even watched the common digging again. I just watched it.
and
you just watched it. Did you get your cut?
That's being lazy, I know.
I was in the same boat as Jesse, in the creek Friday for a few hours, and then demo.
Well, you're right. One thing we know. Yeah, right. One thing we always know, though, anytime me and Ed get in the creek, Murphy shows up.
Oh, yeah.
Murphy shows up.
Oh, Dano.
Yes, sir.
Remember what happened to us at my own little private Idaho at Joe's? It happened again.
I told Jesse I'd fix it, and he said, no, Ed's going to get a new one. I said, I'll fix it again.
Yeah, so it breaks again and again.
But it worked for a while.
Yeah. You know what sucked, though? It did it and was having a hard time priming the pump, and then the pump primed, and then it shut and squealed and shut down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it squealed big time.
Bad.
That's funny.
And then it shut down, and my cord, I couldn't budge it. I couldn't wind it in or nothing. So I'm just going to get a new cover and everything, and boom, fix that.
Well, that first time it happened, you was bragging it all up that morning to me, and then we got to the creek, and it flew apart.
Well, there's actually we did come out with a silver lining around this situation.
Oh yeah,
because we pulled off his big engine on there, and we put both of our little 1.5s on the floats there, and set them up, and we got ourselves a float system there for our engines. So, now that we use, the gold snare, and we're using the matting we're using, and so
Heck yeah.
So that worked out pretty good. We just need to do something about our exhaust.
Yep.
Yeah, but nonetheless, had a great weekend. Met a lot of new people. Saw friends we only get to see once a year. And apparently I had too much fun.
Yeah, you talk too much.
It was just that damp, moist air.
Oh yeah, it rained.
Yeah, it was gloomy. It was gloomy.
Sunday was the only really nice day. It was cloudy and cold and rainy, and not rainy, but it was definitely a chill in the air.
Well, why don't we bring in our friend that was also at Gold Rush?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, get him in the conversation and get this party started.
Right. Well, let's bring him in, Mr. Lee Hershberger from the Lil Gold Spinner. We spent some time with him this weekend. He's doing some modifications to a few different pieces of equipment, and we just had a blast. Come on in here.
Lee, well, I'm here. How's y'all doing?
All right, hi, Lee.
Good evening, Lee.
Good evening. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. So, tell us about your weekend.
Well, I don't know. Did you guys have as much fun there as I did? Because I had a blast.
Yeah, I had a blast. I think people had a blast watching you too.
I thought that was pretty cool. You had 2 of your little gold spinners in the common dig. That was pretty nice of you, sir.
Oh, no problem. I enjoy doing that. I probably could do more of that way and give away more gold doing that type of thing than I take home. But that's quite all right. I just enjoy, especially the kids' common dig. That to me, that made my weekend, seeing their faces.
Oh, it made my day. Patrick Moore, he wanted to help Patrick O'Master's daughter put a bucket in the gold spinner, little bucket she had. And after he dumped that bucket, he turned there 7 other little kids holding buckets looking at him like, "Come on, mister." So he got sucked into it.
I noticed that.
I stood up there and laughed at him a little bit. I said, "You got to stay, buddy. Them little eyes, they ain't going to let you go."
Oh, and them kids, I tell you what, they were at it. They were wanting the gold. There was one little girl she would bring me a bucket darn near full. That bucket had to weigh more than she did. I was like, how in the world is she getting them down here? But I never had a chance to turn around and actually see her carry it down there. But she'd come up there. She had a full bucket. I'm going, holy crap. Now I got to pick it up because I can't let her outdo me.
Right. People like me, I do half a bucket.
Oh,
the more I want to pick up.
While we're at it and talking a little about Gold Rush, I want to give a world shout out to Mary Hershberger and Lee for being gracious, outstanding hosts. They had us over for dinner and breakfast once. Sorry about those days, Rich Cooley. But thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
I see Tim Grimes just showed up. How's it going, Tim? Yeah, I had a lot of fun. We had a couple boys that decided they were going to hang around with us. I think they were those Tims?
Tim and Sarah's, I believe, and I think one might have been Chris Prospector.
Excuse me.
So you had a small fan club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a couple of little clean-ons.
Morning, kid. You bothered me.
They weren't too bad, really, but
no, they wanted to help. They went down and got some buckets. That was kind of cool because they asked me, "Can we go dig some dirt?" You know what I'm thinking? Because, well, I'm thinking too because I forgot
the demo cons.
Right. So we didn't really have anything to demonstrate with. So I said, sure, go get some of that material over there. Bring it over here. We'll run it for you.
And they did.
So they dug into it. They did. They brought a couple buckets, half buckets, you know. That was all right. We just needed a little filler. So we ran it for them. There wasn't much in there, if anything. Nice. So Lee, I see. Tell us how you got involved. How long you been doing this?
Oh, how long have I been prospecting, or how long have I been working on the little spinner?
No, but they're probably both the same, aren't they?
Actually, no. I was actually working on a little spinner for about 1.5 years before I ever got a first shovel in a creek. I know I kind of did.
That's kind of backwards, I think. But okay, whatever works.
Yeah, I was going to say that I found out since that's probably backwards from what most people do. But long story short, I spent
Oh, what happened? You still there, Lee? Did we lose the Lee?
Uh-oh. We have a technical difficulty.
Oh, well, that happens. Hopefully we'll get him right back in here.
Murphy's back in town, I see.
Well, his
Huh.
Oh, no. Did he hit mute?
I don't know. You should hear us.
Up. Maybe.
Nope, you'll have to call him back in.
He should be able to come right back in, right, Jess?
Yeah.
Didn't you come right back in when you popped out?
Yep, I did.
Let's see. We could add. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, we'll try and get him back in here.
Yeah, that was Jared. That was a long, short story.
Well,
leave it to Jared.
Lee said his internet's not the greatest, so he might be try and come back through his phone too. So I'm calling him back in now. And yeah, that was a long, short story.
The short, long story.
Okay, I'll have to try it again.
Patrick sent you home with 2 different little buckets of dirt.
Yeah.
The one bucket come from where they're digging in the hydrants.
Oh yeah, somebody else was telling me that there was a lot of areas around there where they're digging around that look like it might be holes. I've been taking some of that dirt from them different spots.
Well, the one bucket you got that looks reddish, that is from one of the spots where they was putting in the water spigots for camping. And it's
the one from Patrick?
Yeah, the one from Patrick.
Okay, I'm gonna run that tomorrow and see what's in there.
And then the other bucket is from his little private spot in Indiana he goes to, so you should have some gold in that one for sure. But we was curious about that red stuff because it looked so brown and the cobble in it looked right.
Right. Well, I'm hooking up the I'm gonna hook up my little cleanup sluice because I got to videotape some of it for Michael. He's having a little difficulty figuring the mats out, how to run them. I mean, just tell him, you got to just keep tuning them until you get, your feed rate and your everything set up on it. It should work pretty good. He's not happy that he's got to run so slow, and I'm trying to tell him that he doesn't really have to run that slow, and it takes. Like I always say, you got to learn your equipment.
Patrick said that the black bucket with the grips is the one that come from where they dug in the spigots, which that's my bucket.
Okay.
Oh, is that where that bucket came from?
I think I got.
That's my bucket.
I got that one. Jesse has the white one.
The white one's from the Secret Creek.
That I knew was Patrick's. And I forgot about the black bucket, kind of dazed and confused.
Oh, I know, buddy. When I packed up to leave, that was a long ride home.
The black bucket I have, don't I?
I think I have it. You have the white one for sure.
I have a black bucket also.
And that black bucket with
handle.
That black bucket with the black handle, that's the one that has that from the spigots in it, and that's out of about 5 or 6 foot of ground they had dug up.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look at the handles.
We have Lee. Do we have Lee back?
Yes, I'm back.
There he is.
There he is.
Yay. There he is. All right.
Not sure what happened there, but my computer just went and locked up on me all of a sudden.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
So, Mr. Ed Marvin, your face is stuck on my computer until it unfreezes.
Now that really sucks.
Oh, man. I feel for you, my friend. I feel for you. At least I hope I'm smiling.
You started to tell us this long story short.
On how I got started. Where did I lose you at in that?
How you did it backwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. I guess I have found out that I did it kind of backwards. Everybody else goes out prospecting and discovers that whatever they're using doesn't work, so they go back home and work on making something that does work. And
right.
I did it backwards. I did my research from a wheelchair, and being in a wheelchair, I knew I couldn't move a lot of dirt. And
you were
yeah, I was down with a medical issue. It's essentially the same thing as MS, something of those names, and it had me down in a wheelchair for a couple of years, and I still wanted to go prospecting, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to move a lot of dirt. I wanted something that would get as close to 100% of the gold out of the dirt as you could get. So, I mean, there was some good equipment on the market, but from the research I read, and I went to different chat rooms on it and got any kind of input I could find, and they all seem to have some negative responses of losing gold. And I was like, I don't want to lose gold. I want to, if I'm going to dig from a wheelchair, I want it all.
Yeah. It's not catch and release.
Yeah, I'm not out there fishing. Even when I go fishing, I take the fish home and eat them. I don't throw stuff back. So it just kind of, I don't know. I discovered that the big mines have been using centrifuges since the early 80s, and I understand how a centrifuge works and why that would be a more efficient piece of equipment to use. So I looked for one for prospectors, and nobody makes one. So I said, well, it's got to work. I understand the concept. As long as it's built right, it's got to work. So when I got my health back, was able to go back to work, I set out to build one.
So I imagine lots of trial and error on that one, because that's something. Well, I mean, they've used them on large scale for large scale mines and stuff.
Right.
But remember you said something about that was the thing that they didn't have anything small.
Yeah, just nobody. There was one. I found one little bitty one that you would have to feed with a tablespoon out of Australia somewhere, and they wanted a ridiculous price for it. I was like, no, that's not going to work.
Right.
But the way they built the big ones for the professional mines, I mean, some of them things are like 72 inches or bigger across. And the way they build them, you really can't build a small scale one cost effectively the same way. You can't just downsize it and build it the same way. So it had to be built a little bit more simplistic, but yet still work. And yeah, it took a lot of trial and error, and we had a pretty good sized pile of scrap by the time we were done. But I can tell you a whole bunch of ways it doesn't work.
Well, that's always good to learn that, you know.
Oh yeah,
I think some famous inventors have said something to that effect.
Yeah, I think was it Thomas Edison that said, I can tell you 1,000 ways a light bulb, but
how not to make a light bulb.
Yeah.
He knows them all.
Well, I didn't have quite that many, but we had our share of them that didn't work, but we did finally get it to where I was happy with it, and I could honestly say that I was recovering virtually, because I was using 15 grams of lead as a test substance, and some of it was chips, some was shaved, and some was just sanded, so it was powder.
Right.
And that was my test material. And when I could put 15 grams in and recover 15 grams to where I couldn't tell a difference on the scales, then I was satisfied that I was, did I lose a couple of specks? Yeah, maybe, but not enough that it would register on a scale.
Right.
At a 0.1 of a gram or something it had to be before it would register. And when I got to the point where I could no longer see a difference in the scale, I went, okay, now I'm happy.
Now you know you're not losing enough to worry about. I mean, for you. I mean, we all have a difference in what we are willing to lose and what we're not willing to lose.
Right. Out of 15 grams, if I don't lose 0.1 of a gram, I am more than satisfied with that.
Who wouldn't be?
and that was and that was lead, and lead isn't quite as heavy as gold, so the recovery rate, I figured if I'm getting that with lead, and then I bought some pay dirt with gold in it, and we ran that and had the same results, unnoticeable difference. So I said, I'm ready to go out with it, and the rest is history.
Yeah, speaking of that, I remember the first time you brought it out to the swank. I got a weed whacker or something there.
A big old brush cutter.
Right. You had a bush hog coming down to the swank, and we started watching you and going, oh, okay. But that was really cool thing to see for the first time,
Yeah,
and I'm sure you get there. I'm sure you get that reaction even now when people see it for the first time.
Oh yeah, I mean, it never once dawned on me the whole time we were building this thing and designing it that it looked like a Troy-built weed whacker. It looks like they're a weed whacker on wheels, and it's completely by accident. Yeah,
brush cutter.
It was just completely by accident. It was just. We wanted the back to be a little wider for more stability when you're going over rocks and such. Right. And the front had to be narrow enough so that the discharge could be right out of the side of the tub. And, so we just built what we needed that would be functional. And, it just came out looking the same way. And not until somebody said something about it, turned around and looked at it, and I went, holy crap, you're right. It does look like a weed whacker.
Oh, I was just going to ask you that, whether you noticed it before anybody else did, or if just somebody pointed it out to you.
It never dawned on me once until somebody pointed it out.
That's funny. So how's it going? I know you've been going to a lot of the shows and stuff.
This year, actually, we didn't do that much. The first half of the year, we had a lot of other things going on. Didn't get out to too many shows or events, anything the first half of the year. We're just now really getting back into doing the shows and events and stuff. And it's, as normal, if you back off and you're not out there promoting, sales are going to slip some, but I can't complain. They're still moving, and we're going to be heading out to the...
I noticed this year you have a new model that you brought out that replaces. Well, I'm not gonna say replaces, but instead of having the bushwhacker look to it, it's on a stand. What was that all about?
Well, like I said, I built this thing before I'd ever actually went out prospecting. So right. I wanted something that was easy to move, so we put it on wheels. It didn't really dawn on me, not having been out actually prospecting when we first built that one on wheels, that, yeah, that works great for places where you can push it right up to the edge of the water and shovel into it. But if you got to carry that thing down or back up a bank,
yeah, most rivers and creeks have banks.
Weren't you there? Exactly. Weren't you there when we kind of helped them get it back up the bank, Jesse?
Oh no, that sounds like work. I'm sure I wasn't around. I'm sure I was doing something else.
Yeah, no, you were there. I don't know if you were in the hole. Yeah. You were probably in the creek dredging and pretending not to see that we needed help.
Yeah, something that's probably more like it.
But I think that was down at the Norris claim last year, and yeah, we took it down the bank, and I'm telling you what. By the time we got it back up to the top of that bank, getting it back out of there, I had decided we were going to build a smaller, not necessarily smaller, but a lighter machine that on legs. So you can set it right out in, the water can be about 14 to 16 inches deep, and you can still set it right in the water without having to worry about your belt getting in the water. And it's about 30 pounds lighter than the other one. So it's a whole lot easier to get that thing up and down a bank.
By removing that whole chassis from the wheel systems and everything on it, you probably lost a lot of weight there.
Yeah, the wheels we wound up settling on are pretty heavy, and we're looking at finding some lighter wheels that we can use on it that'll still give us the same strength and width. But
right, so
not as heavy.
Without that wheel assembly and base and all that, without that weight on there, is that something that you could probably set on a float system?
Dennis just asked a question in the chat room.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Put some floats on
it. Yeah, put some floats on it. Is that something you can do with it? Would you want to take the legs off maybe and do it, or?
Well, just kind of what he's working on now with his project.
No, that's something else.
Say, well, it is and it isn't. It's I guess we'll just go ahead and say it. I had it out there this weekend on a dredge, and we are working on trying to design a set of floats that is just to float the machine. So if you want to take it out in the creek and you're in deeper water than that and still want to shovel into it, you can float it out there to do that. And I had the dredge out there this weekend that I've modified to run the material through that model, the prospector. It's what we call the prospector, the one on legs.
Was that the one that was on the floats?
Yes.
The prospector? Yep, okay.
Yep. That's the one that was on the floats and was having a dredge running through it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Pretty weird, but pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean, that's I've seen some strange dredges out there on the Swank and other places. But I don't know. Yours is pretty strange, dude. That's just such a weird. But I understand. I mean, talking to you, I understood what you were talking about. But
yeah,
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I know I had somebody standing on the bank at one point in time watching me when I was out there dredging, I think Thursday or so before everybody else showed up. My wife was in the motorhome, and she said he stood there on the bank just watching me, just shaking his head, and he looking at it like, what in the world are you doing? I never did find out who it was.
Probably thought it was a jet boat, like Dennis Dayton was saying during his live video,
Yeah.
Dennis got some video of it.
Yep. I'll admit it's rather different, but from the results I saw of it this weekend, I am very, very happy with what it did, and it'll probably wind up in the creek here at home and be running a bunch of dirt through that thing.
Yeah, it looked like it was working pretty good. You did look like you were having a lot of problems getting clogged up or nothing. I don't know. I didn't watch it a whole lot, but I did see you out there.
No, I didn't. All the running I did Thursday and Friday with it, which I really didn't run all that long. My health just doesn't allow me to go out there and put in a long day anymore. I can go out, for an hour or two, and then I got to go take a break for a while. But the only place I had any issues, any clogs at all, is I put a classifier tip on it. It's a 3-inch, and I put a classifier tip on it, and I had to pull a few rocks out of the classifier tip every so often. But,
it's stuck in the classifier.
Yeah, and of course it didn't help that I lean on the thing. I just jam it in between the two big rocks, between the big rocks, and jam it down in there and let it suck the fines out of there.
There's no finesse in your dredging.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Those are quarter or about 3/8-inch steel rods on that classifier tip for a reason.
Right. So any modifications, any more modifications can we make it to your little gold spinner? I know we used them we used the bench top model down in Alabama. That was kind of fun.
There's the natural progression of things. I'm sure there's going to be some new stuff coming out yet with it, and we're working on a few things that can I say for sure?
Oh, there's always more stuff. There's always more stuff to come up with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that about you people, you inventors. You're never happy with a great invention that you might come up with. You go, I think I can still make it better.
That's tweaking.
Yeah.
Well, there's the one complaint I hear from a lot of people on our little gold spinner is you can't run that much material through it. Okay. That thing will eat river gravel about as fast as I want to shovel it. However, I'm not 36 anymore, so I don't want to shovel all that fast.
Well, I hear you. Like I say, I might be old, but I'm not dead. But I'm not going to kill myself either, trying to shovel, all day long. Yeah, no.
Right. Now some young buck could probably, when I was 36, this wouldn't have been enough. I'd have been standing there going, come on, eat, let's go. I don't have all day. So, right. Is a bigger one a possibility in the future? Yes, absolutely. When? Gosh, I don't know. And of course, I see a couple other holes in the market that for things that nobody else has put out yet, so I'm going to do what I do.
That's what you do. Yeah, we got I don't know if you know Gold Rat High Bakers.
I do not.
They're out of Australia. They actually build a sluice box that's designed for the Dream Mat. They have a whole line of sluice boxes, high bankers.
Oh, cool!
But they're in the house tonight.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Ed just directed them to your webpage.
So did Jaron.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Yes, he's good at that.
Yeah. I do have to apologize to anybody going to the website or going to my YouTube channel. Those are all last year's videos. We've done some updating and upgrading on our wash box mainly. The the videos as far as how the centrifuge works, how well it recovers gold and all that, that's not going to change as far as how they work. The washbox video that's on there, I really need to get around to
change it.
To changing it and doing an updated one, because we've added an extension to it to get your tailings further away from the machine. We've added a nugget trap to that extension so that if you've got gold that's bigger than the screen, it'll retain it. And we've changed the screen. We no longer use that 1/4 or 1/8 inch punch plate, because punch plate with round holes holds a lot of, just plugs up with rocks real easy. So we went to a stainless mesh screen, and
that seemed to work better.
Yeah, it's 120% better. It's just, that stainless mesh. Well, with all that clay that was in that pile in the common dig, we were just grinding it right down through that mesh, and it never plugged. You get a few little pebbles stuck in it, but it never plugged. So, and before, if you ground anything on that punch plate, you just plugged it up. Within minutes, it would be plugged up.
Right.
So, that was definitely a huge improvement, was getting that screen in there instead of punch plate. So, and I really don't think I even have a video online yet of the prospector model showing that. We've got them listed on our website, but I don't think I even have a video on it yet.
No.
And that's what happens
there,
Well, yeah, I can't say that it's slacking. It's just that's what happens when you have a full-time driving job and you're trying to do this.
So this has not become your full-time job yet?
It is now. I just gave up the driving about a month ago. We put a driver in the truck, and of course I still have a hand in the operations of it, and whenever the truck comes in, if there's anything wrong with the lights or whatever, I still have to fix it. But at least I'm not the one in the driver's seat anymore, so that has freed up a lot of time. But
heck yeah, good for you.
But
there you go. Progress.
Yeah, but I still haven't used that time to do any new videos and get that updated, which I know I need to, and it's just another one on the list of things I need to get done.
Especially, you got a new model out, and you're working on another one. You need to get that, or get someone to do it for you. Get an apprentice open, do some editing and videoing for you.
Yeah. Do you know anybody that does good YouTube videos and editing?
Not offhand.
No, not right offhand. Dano.
Look around. You can look around. I'm sure you can find somebody.
No, they're taking my YouTube editor away. Don't stick it on me till I figure out how to use the new one. I get my new one figured out. I'll help you out.
It's not easy. Oh yeah, there you go. Gold Rat High Bankers. I like his comment. See what he says? It's hard to find time and ingest my test one and film it. What a good idea.
There you go.
Wink, wink.
We've been working on it, Gold Rat.
Yeah. I lost my live chat when the computer froze up, so I can't see the chat room, so I'm not sure what they're putting in there.
No,
well, just what I said.
Mm.
Just what I said. Oh, okay. Here's a question for you. Are you going to be down at the Cronies outing?
Am I?
Yes.
Well, I would hope so. Considering I'm the sponsor of the outing.
Right.
Oh.
now
there you go. Well, that was David Bogan wanted to know that.
No, it was David.
Well, it was Paul Topper, David Bogan. They both wanted to know.
Well, if they would read their emails for the Crony Club, they know it.
Hey, you know what? You got a point there. I read mine.
I read mine too.
No, we're sponsoring that outing, and anybody, I guess, if you're an OSPA member, you can get into Bill's. I get the word's out now that it's at Bill's anyway, so I guess I'm not letting anything out by telling that.
Uh-oh.
But
dum.
But if you're an OSPA member, I guess it doesn't cost you anything to come down anyway. But if you're not, and you're a Crony Club member, then I'm covering half your entry into it.
Oh, wow.
So
cool.
It makes it worth your time to sign up as a Crony. And from what I hear, Bill's has some pretty darn good gold.
Well, for the weekend, shoot, that almost paid for a year of Crony Club.
Exactly. That was kind of my point, was, help, maybe get a few more people to sign up on the Cronies to, basically it gets them their money back just to go down there for one weekend and get them, and I don't expect too many people to go home with concentrates from that event. If they do, it's their own choosing, because I'm going to have a couple of the spinners there, and anybody that wants to bring cons up and run them through, they're more than welcome to. So,
man, I'm going to have to get to the Crony outing. When's the date today? It's this month, huh?
I think it's the first weekend of October.
I'll say it's October.
Okay.
What's it say? 7th and 8th. David Bogan said 7th and 8th.
Okay. Yeah. I thought at one time it was going to be in September.
No, because September we've got the Amra Gold Show that we're going to be going to out in California. So we're taking about 2 weeks to go out there and do that one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Lee, I got a question for you. We got a guy in here named Todd, and I'm going to butcher his last name, I'm sure. Thurier. He's a hard rock guy in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
How would that work would the Lil Gold Spinner be something that someone that maybe is crushing air would be able to use?
Why not? If they put it in,
well, I don't know.
Yeah, matter of fact, Todd Thurier owns one of our machines, and yes, it's working for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh,
he owns one of them, and from what I hear, it's working for him and recovering the gold. But it's like any other.
He hasn't started swearing and cussing you out or nothing. So.
Well, I hope not.
No, he just come in and said he was a hard rock guy in Canada. Name I hadn't seen before.
So
it must be one of your guys.
You'd bring it up.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Must be one of them. Must be one of them that saw my post on Facebook. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome, Todd.
Yes. Thanks for stopping by and listening.
Yeah, no doubt. But it's like any other piece of equipment. You got to learn it for the material you're in. But I believe he said he's crushing his rock down to like 100 minus. I mean, he's crushing it down pretty small. So absolutely,
right?
Yeah. So there's no reason whatsoever that it won't work. The main thing with our machine, with that centrifuge, is, and with the electric one comes preset at 50 G-forces at the bottom riffle, and I call it riffles just because that's what people understand. It's actually just a groove,
right,
cut into a rubber compound inside a cone-shaped bowl, and there's five riffles cut into that rubber compound. The bottom groove is 50 G-forces, and the top one is at 100, and that's what the electric one comes set at, because that is a very good all-around number in just about any material. If you have problems with the material moving through that, just classify it, instead of an 8 mesh, go to a 10 mesh. Classify it a little bit smaller, and it'll allow then the material will move through. The gas one, if you're crushing it down to 100 mesh, and everything you're putting in there is 100 mesh, you can speed it up substantially higher than what it was originally set at. You're just looking at those top two grooves. If those are retaining material and the bottom one's staying empty, then you're running at the right speed for the material you're in, or the size you're classifying to.
So because they're crushing material to all the same size, then it's a little bit easier to set up and run. that what you're saying?
Well, when you're going down to 100 mesh, your particles are much smaller, so they're going to be much lighter. So at 50 Gs, they're going to wash back out a lot easier than they would if they were 20 mesh or 8 mesh.
Right.
You know, just like a sluice box, the smaller you classify it to, the easier that material is going to move. So in a centrifuge, the smaller you classify it, the faster you can run the centrifuge and still have the material move through. And the faster you can run the centrifuge, the smaller the gold that you can retain. So, you know, if you're down into micron size gold, if you want to crush it small enough and run it to a small enough screen, it'll catch micron size gold and still get the other stuff out if you want to classify down to that small. But
that's powder.
Oh yeah, that's
powder, talcum powder.
Yeah, it makes talcum powder look big. and I recover a lot of gold that's down into 4 or 5, 3 to 500 mesh. It's itty bitty stuff.
That's what Razor's gold from Juno.
Yeah.
Man, that stuff, I bet a woman could paint their eyelids with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you dry that and you sneeze on it and it'd be gone.
Poof.
She ain't painting her eyes with my gold.
But yeah.
So I've been watching. Todd's been really complimenting you on your customer service and your helpfulness. He just had glowing words about you there, Lee.
Well, good. And
yeah, he does.
I'd say I'd type in thank you, but my chat's locked up. So if he's listening, thank you, Todd.
I think he hears you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it to the Crony outing. I'll be on my way to Houston.
Oh, that's too bad. Well,
yeah.
At least I'm glad we got to see you guys this weekend.
Yeah, it was a blast. We had fun.
Oh yeah.
They get in the creek like as much as we wanted, but we didn't figure we would.
Yeah, we went over early. I was hoping to have get a little bit more creek time in Thursday and Friday myself, but I did what I could, and then I'd go take a break.
Yeah, I hear you. We got in, like I said, we got in Friday for a couple hours. Murphy bit, and that wasted about a half hour, an hour, so getting that all done. So we played for a little while, and yeah, it was fun. Learning a new piece of equipment. I got a new piece of equipment last week before we went to the Gold Rush show and or Gold Rush days. So we got to go out and play with that for a little bit and try to figure that one out. Just a high banker.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. No, and you got the dream. Oh, that one you had that's got the dream mat.
Yeah, the speed banker.
Yeah,
no, it was cool. It worked pretty good. There's a couple of things that I need to talk to Dave about on some things that he might want to think about changing or look at a little bit different. I don't know. Just a couple little things that I saw with it, but that's one of the things that I do. I tell people what's wrong with their crap.
Well, you haven't told me anything about what's wrong with mine yet.
I just haven't had the opportunity to sit and run it a few times. I played with it a little bit down in Alabama, but I wasn't in charge with it. I got to sit there and help. So that's how much that's about all I've done with it.
Well, I'm sure he'll give us the opportunity, Jess. And
I'm sure somewhere up the road. Yeah, somewhere up the road.
Oh yeah.
But I still think it's a cool piece of equipment.
So do
I love to play with it.
Thank you guys.
Put it through its paces. Make it fail.
we tried to make it as close to fail-safe as you can. And of course, if you think you're going to idiot-proof something, you are severely underestimating the power of idiots.
No, I hear you.
We have a question in the room, Paul. From Paul Lee, from Mr. Paul Cooper. You might have met him this weekend.
I have.
How does it work on fine roots? Any problem with plugging?
With roots?
Yeah.
Must mean if you're digging and taking up like grass roots and stuff and little fine roots.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No. I mean, that stuff, not if you're using the wash box, that stuff just washes on across. Now, anything that gets into the centrifuge that is vegetation or like even clay, a lot of matting would pack up with clay, whereas the centrifuge will not. If it's lighter than gold, lead, or mercury, it'll get washed out. It just moves on through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close to the top anyways.
Right. It's the way this thing is built and set and designed. Of course, everything, when it hits the bottom of that centrifuge and it starts spinning, it goes up to 50 times its gravity weight. The gold, the reason that it works better is because the difference in the weight is also 50, the difference between one and the other is now 50 times greater. But vegetation or clay or muck or something like that water is hitting that at 50 times its normal force. So it has no problem whatsoever. Any kind of vegetation or something like that, it just blows it right out of there, no problem.
Gotcha.
I've had, like, if you have fine roots and you throw a grass ball in there, yeah, you may have to brush it across the screen on the wash box, because there's a point in the screen where all the water's gone. The water all drops down through the screen, hits the holding tub, and then you get some back out of the bottom of the screen. And at that point, when the water all disappears, your roots and stuff like that kind of set there sometimes, and you might have to brush them off, just brush them off to get them on off. But most of the time, the stones and such will push them on off. Not a problem.
I notice your progression has also gone along the same lines as the Cube has. In other words, you started off with your basic machine, and the next thing you know, the second time we saw you, you had turned your little gold spinner into like a high banker. So I'm just waiting for the trommel to show up. You're working on a dredge. I want to see a trommel.
We've thought about doing a trommel for it. However, we haven't, just because other than clay heavy stuff and even a trommel, you're going to have clay balls coming out the end of it.
Right.
That wash box, the way it's designed, you just, if it's river gravel or anything other than clay is the only thing that really gives it fits, which does any kind of equipment.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. If it's, your rocks are coming off and they're not clean, just stick another rock under the front leg and lean it back a little bit. Slow the feed rate down. Just a tad. And it's got some serious boiling action going on in that wash box, and it'll pretty much get anything clean. You just got to let it have enough time to do it and not, shovel in more than it can handle or have it lean too far forward to where you're rushing it off of there. But I don't really see the benefits to having a trommel on it. I mean, yeah, you might be able to run material a little bit faster, but then my concern would be if you're running material into the centrifuge faster, you might be overloading the material in the centrifuge and not allowing it the time to process the material through properly.
Right. So you probably have a tendency to overfeed it really easy then.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my concern with it. That if we built anything that would allow you to get material screened down and into the centrifuge faster, that you would be overfeeding the centrifuge.
So it also has a point where it's going to fail too. That you can overfeed it. It's like anything else. Just like anything else, right?
Oh yeah, if you dump too much dirt through that in one shot, yeah, it's gonna, it takes a second. It takes a minute for that dirt to get into that riffle, and then get washed back out, and open that back up, and you want to keep that riffle, that bottom 2 riffles, you want to see them always staying pretty much empty. You want to be able to material to come in and come right back out and move up and leave the heavy in there. And if you throw enough material in there that you fill that bottom riffle up, well, your gold's just going to scoot across it. If it can't get to the outside, it's going to scoot on across. Same thing as it would in anything else. If you pack up your sluice box, it's just going to go on out. So there's a limit to the feed rate, obviously. And, so if you're losing gold, usually it's either running too much water, and that's on the box, on the wash box. The centrifuge itself, you can't run too much water through it. We tested that extensively, and we sized the tube going down, the feed tube going down into the centrifuge to the maximum. That's the maximum amount of water you can run through it. You run more than that, and then you start washing everything out. So we sized that to where you can't run too much water into it. So my advice to people, if they're running just a classifier or something like that on it and not using the wash box, is get your pump set up to where you're running that as much water as what it will allow into the centrifuge, and then start your centrifuge and start feeding material. That's the only time I recommend starting the water before the centrifuge.
Yeah, because you want your centrifuge running first, right? For the most part?
Always. Yeah. When you're running material, you always want to start the centrifuge before you start running your water, because when that centrifuge is not spinning, it's a horrible sluice box by itself. It doesn't work worth a crap as a sluice box if it's not spinning. And as long as you shut the water off and let the centrifuge spin until all the water's out of it, and then shut it off, you can shut it off, open it up, look at it, close it back up, start the centrifuge back up, start your water back up. You want to take a break, take a nap, go to the bathroom, whatever. You can do that as often as you want. You can shut it off. As long as you shut the water off, then stop the spinning, and then start the spinning before you start your water. You can do that as often as you want, and you will not lose a speck of gold.
Right, you won't be worried about blowing anything out.
Exactly. Jaron has a question for you in the chat room.
Before we get to that question, though, let me take a little break for one of our major contributors, please. All right, we'll be right back. Got that out of the way. I'd like to thank him personally if Tim Grimes is in here and the rest of the Prospector Radio crew. Thank you for all you do for flashing your pan. All right. We got a question about your layaway program. Lee, can someone make double payments or half down?
Oh, absolutely. That's our layaway program. We set it up, 10% down and $100 a month. That's just the minimum. there's no limit. If you want to pay it off early, you want to put half down and make double payments. You want to pay it in 2 payments? Well, I don't care. We don't mind, other than we had to have some sort of minimum on it, you know. So that's what we put on as a minimum payment. But I guess we should have clarified that anything above and beyond that is up to whoever. You know, if they want to make bigger payments, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, excellent.
And we don't charge any interest whatsoever on our layaway. It's just price, and 10% down, $100 a month. We'll hold it for you. And if you want to do it faster or pay more, then that's great.
Okay, I was going to ask if there was any interest. Okay, cool. There you go, Jaron.
He says thanks. He says thanks in the chat room. He said thanks.
More than welcome.
Gold Rat Highbankers has a comment. He says he has 2 hard rock miner customers in Australia who run a centrifuge on a large scale. They push their centrifuge pretty hard. It doesn't hurt to run a tailing sluice to account for overfeeding. Well, I guess that would be an idea with anyone I operate.
Yeah, and that's something Dennis keeps saying, is maybe you should run a little gutter sluice on the tailings that are coming out of the centrifuge. And by all means, until you're familiar with it and comfortable with it. I mean, I've run it long enough now that I know what I'm looking at when I open it up. And if it looks right when I open it up, I trust that it's recovering all my gold, because I've run it often enough that I know that. But for somebody that's learning the machine, by all means, if you want to put a gutter sluice or something like that on that outspout, if you're finding gold in that gutter sluice, you need to be making adjustments to your machine. And absolutely, I mean, if you want to do that so that you've got a check there to know whether or not you're, something that tells you quick and easy, hey, I'm seeing gold in my gutter sluice, that tells me you're either overfeeding, your RPMs are too low for the material you're in, or something that needs to be adjusted. And it's really not that complicated of a machine to learn and adjust. It's just like anything else. Sluice box, you can run it too big of an angle, too flat. This you can run too fast or too slow.
Stick Whipper has a question. How fast can you feed beach black sands? Would a dredge nozzle work okay?
If you're dredging up black sands, it's probably faster than you can feed it through this machine. I mean, I've run pure sand through it, and I was able to run about not quite a ton an hour, probably somewhere around 3/4 of a ton an hour through it. Now, pure black sands, I probably wouldn't run quite that fast. I'd probably stay, around 1,200 to 1,500 pounds an hour. And if you're dredging it, you're probably going to be coming up with more than that. But it would just have to be one of those things where you try it, and if you see you're losing gold, then you slow down.
Right. You adjust. Like anything else.
Yeah.
You adjust.
Yep.
Then again, that's going to depend on the material running.
Right.
Some material you can run faster, and some you can't.
Yeah, I've run pure black sand through this thing, and it does a very amazing job at recovering gold out of pure black sand. I had a bucket of, about half a bucket of pure black sand off the Oregon coast, and that was absolute dust gold. It looked like that stuff you guys got from Razor. And I ran that through this in just a couple of minutes. I mean, just basically poured it through. Right. And I got 90-some specks of gold out of it. And the only reason I know that is because my granddaughter counted it, because I couldn't see it. It was so
I have a lot of gold like that I can't see. Got a whole pile full.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary. How are you doing tonight?
All done work. I'm doing great.
Oh, that's good.
Yay.
That's good. Ed's losing his voice. There's all that good food you fed him.
Yep.
He was losing his voice the entire weekend we were out there.
Well, it's that first night, the heater in my pop-up, I used a small tank, and about 3 in the morning, 3:30, I was feeling really cold. As you know, like you and Lee both, I don't have much body fat on me. So I got cold quick, and I got up, changed it out. I fixed that really quick the next day, huh, Jesse? But after that,
yes, you did.
After
you
that,
hooked a big tank
to horse. Same here, Mary, and thanks again for your awesome hospitality.
Yes, ma'am.
She says you're welcome. But oh yeah, we had a good time this weekend. It was a good.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a blast, and
yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to miss the Crony Club outing. Like I said, I'll be on my way to Texas. Oh well.
You're gonna make the you're gonna make the Indiana Gold show, or
I'll be there. Yeah,
you always miss Bill's. You ain't never been to Bill's yet, have you, Jesse?
No, I missed the last one at Bill's. The one before. I haven't been to Bill's yet.
I haven't been to Bill's yet.
No, I keep hearing about it. I keep wanting to go.
Patrick Moore's going to have a full house come Gold Show in Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I know. Patrick, I'll bring him my cot. I'll bring him next one.
I'll bring my cot. I know I will.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I had fun at the last Gold Show. I'm sure I had fun at this one, too.
Oh, yeah. When was the last one you guys were at?
The Dayton.
Yep, Dayton. Yep. I was just trying to think because we did so many last year, I couldn't remember what was where.
Yeah, no, I the only one I went to was the Dayton one.
Yeah. Well, we did what? Denver, Dayton, North Carolina. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know there was 4 or 5 of them last year. We still have not made it to the Vegas show.
Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte, we were there.
I'm surprised Kevin Hoagland hasn't forced you to come down there to the Vegas show yet. Right, get over here.
He did. Trust me, he did. But this spring, we just had things going on that it just did not work. I mean, we had it all set up, planning, and we were absolutely going to go. And it still bothers me that we missed it, but we had some things that kind of came up and kicked our behinds this spring. And
life happens, don't it?
Yeah, it just kind of changed our schedule and kind of had to lay back the first half of the year and get things sorted out and back on track. And well, we're back on track now. And you know what? In the long run, I think it's all going to be better than for it.
That's good. That's definitely good.
Yeah. No, life happens.
Yep, all the time.
Tends to throw you lemons, and I just try to make lemonade out of it.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's all you can do, huh?
See if there's any more questions on here that we might have missed.
I mean, like I said, how I came up with this thing is being in a wheelchair, and more than anything else, if I can just inspire one person to not give up when life's got them down, because, I look back now and it's like, yeah, that was one of the most horrible experiences I've ever went through in life, was being stuck in a wheelchair for a couple of years. But if that hadn't happened, this little spinner wouldn't have happened.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't have had the inspiration to do that.
Exactly. And so, every cloud has a silver lining if you're willing to fight through it and find it. And, you're going to get thrown the curveball. It's just, you got to stand at the plate and fight. And just keep fighting for it, because there's a silver lining in it somewhere if you're willing to continue to struggle and fight for it. And like I said, so I'm actually thankful now for having been stuck in that wheelchair. It gave me a whole new perspective on life, and it led to this. So,
well, everything happens for a reason, right, Lee?
I believe so.
Dennis wants to know how many Indiana buckets you can run. Dennis wants to know how many Indiana buckets can Lee run.
Well, it depends on how.
Well, no. I'll answer for you. He said all of them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah. Perfect answer.
Yep. If he wants to bring me more buckets to those cons, I'll run them, because I found some pretty good gold in those 2 buckets he decided to leave and not take home with him.
Oh. He got tired of running. It's all he did all weekend. He sat at that chair, and he stopped long enough to do the show, but then afterwards he'd be right back to that chair running all them buckets.
Yeah, and then finally Sunday evening I convinced him to knock it off and just load them up and take them over and run them through the spinner, and we ran the next 8 or 9 buckets in about an hour. And he got some nice gold out of those buckets too. He did. He got some really nice gold out of there.
Now, were those all Pirate Pit gold, Dennis?
There was some Grissom concentrates that he got from Grissom. There was some Pirates Pit stuff, and I think there was some Outhouse Pit stuff in there too. It smelled horrible. There was some stuff that had like leaves and debris that had fallen.
I remember you talking about
for
that.
Years.
I remember you talking about that. Outhouse dirt.
Oh, it was horrible. It smelled nasty, but it didn't take too long. We got it washed through and out of the way. But it was like, man, next time don't leave this stuff sitting around for 15 years to ferment.
That's what he said. The buckets have been sitting around for years, he says in the chat.
Oh, yeah, you could tell.
Probably cleaned out his downspouts and eave spouts with it a few times.
It smelled like it. There was a bunch, just leaves that had collected in them and were sitting there decaying, and it had heavy clay, so that it was like, oh, yeah, that didn't smell good. But anyways, it's done, and he got some pretty good gold out of them, and I venture a guess he probably won't leave it sitting around accumulating quite that long in the future.
Dennis, remember to write the name down on the bucket where you got it from.
Label them, and the year.
Yeah, put the year on it so we don't know how long it's been sitting around. It was kind of comical, because I could almost tell you where those buckets came from, just having been in Pirates Pit and having seen Grissom's concentrates before. So I could tell you which buckets came from Pirates Pit and which one came from the Grissom mine, whatever they wanted. I'm not sure, Grissom or Grissom.
Crescent.
But
Crescent. But the Crescent roll, Crescent. That was from Tammy, the owner's wife herself. So.
Okay. Yeah, I've met Tammy, and she's neat lady.
Yeah, oh yeah, she is. Todd's got another question, Lee. He wants to know if, Lee, do you recommend I use dry clean in my water? I don't know what dry clean is.
Jet dry.
Well, I'm
probably talking like jet dry. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's up in Canada.
Right.
So I'm assuming it's something like jet dry or some sort of sulfactorin. And absolutely, I absolutely recommend that. I mean, if you're out in the creek, obviously you can't. But if you're recirculating, I absolutely recommend you put that in there. It just
anything
helps.
that can cut the surface tension would help. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, in a centrifuge, I don't really know as it's going to make that big difference because there's really no surface tension to contend with in a centrifuge.
Right, because you're using gravity, aren't you, or centrifugal force?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not. I'm not worried about surface tension. What I think it would help with more than anything else is you get that water wetter, and you'll be able to move the material through and out of the centrifuge faster, thereby allowing you to either spin at a higher RPM or feed more material a little faster without having any losses. So that would be why I would recommend using it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Read it to Lee. Read it to Lee.
It says use Gain laundry soap. Then down another couple lines, he says it cleans your buckets that have been sitting around for years and gets rid of bad smells.
Then he says, just kidding.
He says, just kidding, everyone.
Yeah.
It probably would clean them out, though.
Yeah. It would have to have helped in his buckets. I'm thinking Febreze.
Febreze.
Fire.
But yeah, that would be why I would recommend though using something of a sulfactorin of jet dry or like Martin's Go Getter juice or anything like that, is not so much to break the surface tension because you're not going to have any in that centrifuge.
David Bogan wants to know Dawn dish soap, if it can use Dawn dish soap.
Yeah, absolutely. Not going to hurt a thing other than you're going to get a lot of bubbles.
Right.
And Dawn dish soap is not going to help you as much as something like jet dry.
Right, and I use jet dry. That's what I use.
Right, I do too.
Dawn, I think, has some. I think it has some sulfactorin in it, but it's not as much as dry.
Right.
Jet dry.
And I think they say it only use the unscented, isn't it? Only the straight up old Dawn, not none of the scented or good for your hands, none of that stuff.
The original blue.
Well,
right, the original blue.
Well, in a sluice or something like a cube or something like that where you're worried about oils, then yeah, you would want to use an unscented or anything like that so it doesn't have any kind of oil or lubricant in it.
Right.
In the centrifuge, that's not going to matter if it has any oils or anything like that, and it's just not going to change it. The main benefit's going to be just the sulfactorin in it, allowing the water to. Well, if you take a bucket of 100 mesh cons that you screen down to 100 mesh, and you try to get a scoop into it, it's like a brick. Then you soak that with a good dose of sulfactorin, and you can get the scoop into it a whole lot easier. That material moves a lot easier, and that's because of the sulfactorin in the water. The water gets in between them particles in the dirt a lot easier, thereby allowing it to carry it out of the centrifuge easier.
Right, I see.
It would just, like I said, it would allow you to run at a higher RPMs, which give you a little bit more G-forces, holding finer gold, or feed a little bit faster. But it's like anything else. You'd want to set up, run it for a little bit, open it up, and check it out. And then make sure that it looks right for the way you're running, and
right,
make
see what it's doing.
Right. Make sure you're getting the right. I know that was the problem we were having down in Alabama, was trying to figure out whether it was looking right every time we stopped to take a look, whether it was looking right, you know. And all of us, none of us actually knew how to run it that well. Not even Dennis Dayton.
Yeah, well, I just kind of.
But you know, it was something we wanted to try. We played with it, and it was. We started getting the hang of it after running for a while. Like I said, I was just hoping I didn't get to really run it myself.
I kind of purposely just gave that to you without a whole lot of instruction.
Right, I know.
Because I wanted to see kind of how long, what it would take for you guys to figure it out more or less on your own, how to set it and such.
Right.
Because I knew how to set it. I mean, we built it. So we figured out how to set it, how to deal with it and all that as we were designing it. So I kind of really didn't know how would other people deal with it? How would it, can somebody else take this thing and figure it out and make it work without me having given them too much instruction?
Well, let's see how idiot proof I actually made it, right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once we figured out, it won't start unless you have the lid on it exactly right. Then it started working. Okay, why isn't it starting? Why won't it start? Why won't it start? I don't know. Let's take the cap off and put it back. Oh, okay, it started this time, and next time we did. Why isn't this thing starting? Why isn't, you know? We were getting really frustrated. Then we figured out the safety switch on it. Took us a few times, but we finally figured it out.
Yeah. You know, we did put a safety switch on that lid because, you know, that thing's spinning at 100 G-forces. If you take that lid off when there's material moving through there, it's going to be like a rotating shotgun. Them pebbles are going to come out of there like they're going to hurt. So we put a safety switch.
I can imagine.
You know, so, you know, people want to see it run. Well, you really can't see anything because if you leave that open where you can actually see what the centrifuge is doing, you're standing in a line of fire at that point.
Oh, I hate to cut in, but Ronald, our friend, the question man, Ronald Tolbert, has a question. It's probably buried in your chat now, guys. What was your dredge motor? And the little spinner had its own motor? Question mark.
Yes.
I answered that, yes, but and then he asked what size was the engine on the dredge?
The engine on the dredge, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 6.5 horse. It's a 1.5 inch pump. It's the motor, it's the pump, and everything that was on a 3-inch Pro-Line dredge originally. I mean, that was a 3-inch Pro-Line dredge. All I did was take the sluice box off of it and put that spiral apparatus, 4-inch PVC pipe apparatus on their separator, and then I set my prospector model where the sluice box used to be. And so, yeah, on that one, and that's just a rough prototype. I mean, at this point, we're testing the concept and getting a concept that works, and then we'll try to get that down to one engine. You know, one engine running the centrifuge and the pump at the same time. And, you know, obviously it'll lighten it up a whole lot and clean it up, make it look a little bit more professional, because that looks like something a mad scientist came up with in his backyard.
Yeah, it does. Or a water ride at some park.
Yeah, it looks like it's somebody's new idea of a water ride that he's trying in a miniature version first. And quite literally, the mad scientist came up with it in his backyard is what happened. That's how it came out.
Here's the thing that just that kind of blows me away is, how did you figure out that it needed those spins in that 4-inch pipe that you put in? How did you figure out that that's what you needed for it to do what you wanted to do? In other words, separate the lights from the heavies before it went into the little gold spinner. I mean, where in the hell did that come from? You know?
The reason that dredges lose gold, and I hear it all the time, my dredge doesn't lose gold. Okay, I'm not going to argue with anybody that says their dredge doesn't lose gold, but they lose gold because there's fine gold in the upper half of the tube coming in. I mean, that water is moving so fast that it does not have time to drop before it goes across the sluice box. And if it's in the upper half of the water and you're running the water as fast as I see most dredges running, it's going to be off the end of the sluice box before it even thinks about dropping down to the bottom. And knowing that that gold is in the upper half of the water when it comes into a sluice box, right, I knew I had to do something to get that gold against either a side or a bottom to where I could skim it off, because there's no way I can run 4 inches of water through that centrifuge. There's just no, I mean, that's bigger than,
right,
bigger than the bottom. Yeah, it's bigger than the bottom of the centrifuge, so there's no way I can run that much water through it. I'm going to have to skim that down, because we allow about 600 gallons an hour to go through the centrifuge. That's a very small amount of water compared to what a 4 or 3-inch dredge puts out.
Right.
So I knew I had to somehow get that gold and the black sand, the heavies, against a side where I could skim it off. And I deal with centrifugal force, so if you spin it in...
You were just saying that, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, he's doing with centrifugal force. Of course he would come up with something like that.
So if you spin it in a circle, guess what happens? The heaviest stuff goes to the outside. So that's how I came up with doing that spiral, and that seemed to do the trick. And it got the heavies to the outside, and then once I straightened it back out, all that is against the outside just kind of slides down to the bottom and slides across the bottom. Because I tested several different places on where I'm skimming at, and yeah, it's all on the bottom by the time it comes around, by the time it gets up to the point where I'm skimming it at. And I was very happy with the recovery rate. I mean, I have no way of testing the recovery rate on it other than going back and running my own tailings, and I did that and found nothing. So I'm happy with it.
Well, that's good. I mean, it looked like it was doing its job. From standing on the bank and watching you, and then you showed me how it's actually working. Okay, I see where that works. And that was I just, like I said, I just don't know how you guys think of that stuff.
Well, it was an issue. It was a problem, and I understand the fact that most people are not going to give up their dredges. If they live in an area like Indiana and Ohio that allows dredging, I totally understand why you would rather use a dredge than shovel into a machine. 100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I, rather than expect people to give up their dredge to go to using our machine, how about figuring out a way to put our machine on their dredge to improve their recovery rate right on the dredge? Now, ideally, I was trying to, that works for here on the way I've got it set up on that dredge. Works for here in the northern Midwest. Now, if you're down in Georgia or out in Arizona or up in Oregon where they've got big chunky gold, that's not going to work because I'm using an 8-mesh screen. So they got gold up there bigger than that. So I'm going to have to put a sluice behind the centrifuge for those areas in order to recover those big chunks.
You mean like coming off your big exhaust pipe? Is that what you're talking about, putting in sluice?
Well, there and off of the screen on the catch tub.
Right.
Because it's going to skim off chunks of gold and spit it down on that screen. Well, it can't go through the screen, so it's just going to drop back into the creek if I don't have some sort of sluice behind that to recover those big chunks. And we don't want to lose gold, especially not big chunks.
Oh, right. Now, before you get done, that thing's going to be 8 foot long. 2 stories high.
No.
So you're talking about having a sluice box. You're talking about having a sluice box coming off where that material is being classified before it goes into the little spinner, right? That's the material you're talking about. Okay.
Yep. I'm not really worried that the big chunky gold is going to go above that skimmer I've got on there, because it's going to be down in with the rest of the heavies, and it's going to get skimmed off and shot down onto that screen.
Right.
The problem I'm seeing is it's not going to go through the screen. If it's big enough that it doesn't go through that screen, it's just going to get kicked back off into the stream. Well, if I put a sluice behind that, then I can recover those big chunks, and I don't really have to worry about the fine stuff in the sluice. So I can design the sluice just specifically for big chunky gold, which makes the sluice a whole lot easier to build.
Well, it sounds like you want to incorporate your high banker setup into it.
Well, the high banker is that we use on the high banker attachment, what we call a high banker attachment. Well, everybody else calls it the high banker attachment. We call it the wash box because it's realistically not. Yeah, it's realistically not a sluice. I mean, it has one nugget trap on it, but it's realistically not a sluice. All it does is wash the material and classify it to the size of the screen that we put on it. That is its basic purpose.
Did you say there is a nugget trap?
There is a nugget trap on the end of it, but I don't consider one nugget trap making it a sluice. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, that is just basically a washer box, and that's what we call it. We call it a washer box. I mean, everybody else calls it a high banker because that's something they can relate to.
Right.
You know, so they understand what you're talking about when you say high banker.
Header box, grizzly, but a high banker, I picture a whole thing. Header, grizzly, sluice. So.
Yeah, essentially our wash box is the header box and the grizzlies of a high banker. It's essentially what it is. It washes it and gets the big stuff that's too big to go through what would be on a high banker to go through the sluice, kicks that off. Well, ours does the same thing, but it just does the same thing as that header box. It washes it, grizzlies it, kicks the stuff that's too big to go through the centrifuge on off the end, and lets the stuff that goes through the centrifuge drop down through and into the centrifuge. So, yeah, I guess that would be a more apt description for it, would be a header box.
Right. Todd says that's why he looked at this unit knowing science was going to help him recover the small gold, knowing I had nothing but 10 mesh to 400 mesh. So he looked at it because he was looking at the small gold. He wasn't looking at he wasn't looking for nuggets, which is, most of us are trying to get that small gold because
if you live in Ohio.
We're not going to find,
Dana, there's small gold everywhere. There's more small gold than any gold.
I know.
That's 100% true. I say that's 100% true. I have hit a pile of dirt in Georgia, and I thought everywhere that there's pickers and bigger pieces of gold that would be small stuff. I did hit one pile of dirt in Georgia down at Loud Mine where I thought something went wrong with my centrifuge because I wasn't getting any fine gold out of it. I got a couple of pickers and that's it. So I was like, what the world? It looked right when I opened it up. What's going on with this thing? So I actually went and got a different one, brought it out, same result. Come to find out, after a couple of times, that pile just had big chunky gold. There was no fine gold in it. I was like, okay, that's weird.
At the Loud Mine?
Yeah.
What you said?
Yeah. It was at Loud Mine, and they had put out piles for people to dig off of. And so I finally took my spinner and went, and we started getting dirt off a different pile just to see. Well, then I started getting my fine gold again. I went, okay, so it's just that pile doesn't have any in it. And I don't know, was it closer to the source or what the deal was, but that pile didn't have any fine gold in it.
I wonder if they brought that from the croissant.
Right. That's what I was wondering too, because their gold is like that. Theirs is crushed.
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot.
They don't have fine
100 mesh.
like what we. Yeah. Right. Their stuff is chunkier stuff, real coarse looking. That might be the reason too. They might have got it from the croissant mine.
Well, this was bigger, chunkier stuff that even the croissant mine stuff is. I mean, I've run their material, and they've got stuff down to probably 60, 80 mesh, and this was probably 20 mesh, 20, 30 mesh chunks, and that was it. Nothing smaller. Well, I'd say nothing. Maybe a speck or two smaller, but
right.
Not what I would have expected.
Yeah, we did a little painting when we went to the croissant mine. Their gold is bigger pieces, not fine like what we find here. There's not as much of it, but it's supposedly their crushed material that they crush their once a week or whatever their schedule is. They crush their own hard rock and then sell it. But they got some good pay dirt.
Oh yes, they do. I've never been disappointed in any of their pay dirt, especially if you get a load. Now I haven't done it myself, but I know I was talking to a guy down there at Loud Mine, and every time he goes to Loud Mine, he'll go over with his pickup and get a load, and it's what did he say? It's $100 for a load.
Really?
And they bring a front end loader out and dump it in your pickup for you. And he said he's never done that. He didn't get close to 3 grams out of it. So he's always got at least his money's worth in gold and then some.
Well, that's cool. I know their bags are pretty cheap. They're like big, huge bags for $15, of their material. And it's chunky gold.
Right. Mm-hmm. But, that's how they make their income is, they're mining it there, and they know about how much is in there, so they know what they would get for it if they went through the rest of the process and got it done clean, smelted it, and sold it. This is what they could get for it. So if they can just bag it up and sell it and get that same amount for it, it saves them a whole lot of time and makes people like us happy to get the bag.
Yeah, right. Well, even the people like us, like you said, like us, people have been doing it for a while. Hell, at Loud Mine, you met Crack, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
He's
a
character.
Yeah, he is.
He's a character.
Great guy, but a character.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great.
But even he gets excited over their bags, their pay dirt bags. So it's exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
Todd says he wants to take his unit out to a glacial till beach. Oh yeah, I would too.
Absolutely, and just take it out there and play with it. See what you're gonna screen to and adjust it according. And I'm telling you that those glacial, that black sand beach sand. I'll put this thing up against anything on recovery rate and that stuff because it just runs. If you're running it right, it'll run right through, and you will recover a whole lot of little bitty fine specks of gold.
Well, let's see. Hey, Ed, I guess we need to make a trip up to Lake Superior, huh? With the speed banker, a Lil Gold Spinner, and a cube.
There you go. Absolutely. I've been told that, well, if you go up to the park there or any of the DNR land or whatever, you're not, and I guess Michigan, you're not allowed to run any power equipment. So we'd have to take an inverter and run an electric one up there, and you'd probably have to put you could run a sump pump or something like that to run your.
Oh yeah, I can run a recirculator. Yeah, we can run a recirculator system in there, or just get a bunch of buckets.
Yeah, take them back to the camper to run them.
Yeah. So you can't run equipment on the beach, huh? Or
nothing with a gas motor on it. That's my understanding. Nothing with a gas motor. Well, I guess there's a certain amount of permits a year that they give out to run gas engines on the beach out there, but I guess it's very, very limited on who gets them. And you got to
battery operated stuff works too.
Yep, absolutely. And doesn't take much of an inverter. I can hook up an inverter and run my electric one off of an inverter pretty easily.
Oh right, yeah, because yours is your desktop or your benchtop model is it's a electric. Yeah, it's desktop.
Got my desktop model.
Well, that one's small enough you could probably put it on a desk, but whoever's desk it is might not appreciate it.
Hell, I take pay to sit there at my desk running that all day.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't mind that as a job.
Well, I wouldn't either, but I'm sure my wife would have a problem if I brought one in and put it on her desk and started running it.
Or had her running it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think it'll just stay outside on the sidewalk.
Right.
And that,
what's it?
Oh, Mary says if you guys keep it up, she's not making you coffee next time.
Jesse, shh.
Not me. It's not me.
I don't think you guys.
I'm a nice
I don't
guy.
think you have to worry about that. She threatens a lot, but.
Okay. I don't have to be scared of her.
Well.
He didn't say that.
No, I didn't say that, because anybody that's not scared of a female,
something's wrong.
Yeah, you haven't quite wisened up yet, because you really should be scared when it comes to females.
You have to go to sleep sometime.
Exactly. Yes, don't want to get bobbit.
Yeah, no kidding. Don't want to get bobbit. Or I've seen where a woman sewed a man to a bed so she could beat him up, and there's.
Well,
so now we're getting off the subject here. Yeah, we're getting a little off the subject here.
Yeah.
Dennis did ask in the room. He wanted to know if you do any detecting, Lee. He wanted to know if you do any metal detecting.
I do not at this point. I did when I was a kid, but my mom accidentally, well, I'm not sure. She might have done it on purpose, but she claimed it was an accident because she didn't know. She says she didn't know what it was, and she sold my metal detector for $5. And
well, then you're really lucky, because Dennis says he has a Mind Lab E-Track just for you.
Well, we might have to work something out on that.
Oh, well, good night, Truth Seeker.
Well, I'll have to talk to Dennis about that and see if we can work something out. But I haven't gotten back into the metal detecting just because I've got way too much other things to do. I'm just too busy to really start anything else at this point. I got too many projects that I'm working on, and of course promoting what I've got done already and trying to build on that, and spend a little time in the creek and actually enjoy it.
I can relate to that. A lot of irons in the fire, huh?
Yeah, and I really, yeah, you know, metal detecting, it looks interesting. It looks like it'd be a lot of fun, and it, you know, I see them finding some pretty great stuff with them. I just don't have time.
I've got one too. I have a metal detector, but I just don't use it all that much. I don't know why. I don't know. It's fun, and I have used it in my yard. I've cleaned my yard out pretty good, but you know, I don't know.
Same here, Jesse. I got two. I brought them with me at Gold Rush. I never used them. I hardly used them.
Yeah. I was going to say, I never saw either one of you swinging one there.
No, not this time.
We didn't get to play much at all.
No.
At anything.
Friday.
That was it.
It was all about the demonstrating and sales.
Yeah, mostly
demonstrating.
Well, that's the way it always is.
Sales was not that good.
Yeah.
But we did demonstrate a lot. A lot of people saw the Dream Mat, so that's what Dave was concerned about. He wanted to make sure people would see it. So.
Yeah, well, it's their new products, both of them.
Right.
Just like Lee's product is fairly new. You know, there's a lot of Doubting Thomases out there that change. They don't like change. They don't really like new. They've got comfortable with what they have. So.
Yeah.
There's people out there like that, and you try not to argue with them because it's you can't, you know, you're not going to change a set mind. So you just try to argue with anybody over what they believe is the product that works for them, and it probably is. You know, but that doesn't mean you can't look for something to work a little bit better for you, make it your life a little easier on you. We're all getting old.
Right. Well, and I understand it. I mean, especially with my product. I mean, I'm talking, you know, they've done the gold recovery with a sluice box since, you know, the Egyptian days.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just been the way it's always been done, is the sluice box. And 90% of the prospectors aren't even aware that the big mines have been using centrifuges. So I'm more, at this point, you know, educating people on what it even is and what it does.
Because it's not like you even invented the wheel all over again. You just figured out how to make the same piece of equipment down to your laptop size and desktop size.
Right. You know, basically, yeah, I took the desktop and made it the phone size. You know.
Right.
So it's not, but the thing is, most prospectors didn't know about the big ones to start with.
Right. I have seen one once on Gold Rush, and I think what's her name? Paul Markey used one.
Right.
A friend of mine, David, uses centrifuge for cleanup up in Nome, Alaska, from his stuff from his crawler. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get up into Alaska and, you know, into the West where there's more serious mining. And that's why I say the miners have been using them. But for the most part, us part-time or weekenders have never had access to one. And I probably 90% of the people that I meet have never even heard of one. Don't have any idea what it is, what it does, why it would work, or anything else.
Yeah, so well, that's a hard thing to try to get people to understand that this is not a new product. It's just you've just made it more efficient for the
small scale
miner.
Prospector.
Yeah. Yep. Realistically, all I did was downsize it, make it easily portable to where the average, and, at least somewhat affordable for the average person to be able to afford it. I mean, at least we got it as close to affordable as we can.
Well, I can imagine. I know, and like for me, that price is more than I can deal with. If I had that much coal, I'd trade you, but I don't.
And I understand that, and I
you
guess
take
my
it
too. Absolutely, I would. I mean, if you want to trade gold for it, I'll take it. And I guess our target market is more the semi-serious weekender.
Hey Lee, you're calling me on Skype.
Don't answer it. She finally got her computer unfrozen, so I'm not sure what it's doing.
Oh. Well, that's right. Your computer was frozen, wasn't it?
Yeah, okay. She got the computer unfroze.
I hung up on her.
Okay.
Let's see.
I didn't want to be connected twice there.
Oh, here, Jared. Yeah, Jared just giving us a gold report for today. Gold is at 1341, up 7. Silver at 1789, no gain. Platinum 1009, up $1. Palladium 960, down 13. Very good. Gold is up there.
In the honor of our buddy Ron Harrison.
Is he on his way to Alabama yet? Anybody?
I don't know. He might be. They sold the house.
Dennis?
I don't know if he's on his way. I know he did sell the house, so he.
Right.
If you ask online, he has to wait for the delay. It's probably better type it in the chat.
Dennis says yes. I was waiting for the delay. Oh wait, is he talking to Mary though?
That's Mary in the chat room anyway.
Yeah, right. I don't know if Dennis was answering.
Yes, Dennis says yes.
But is he answering Mary or is he answering the question about Ron?
I would probably the question about Ron. I would imagine he'd be on his way down there by now. I mean, it was what?
You guys, that's our question.
I'm confused.
We got too many questions.
He's going to Rich Cooley says yes, going to Colorado first. So he's probably going to see Dick Steele's dock in Colorado. Maybe do some dredging with them.
Oh, that would be cool. Maybe he can get into the water. I know he's been just hearing him on the radio. He is dying to get in the water again.
You believe this, Ed? We're almost going on 2 hours.
Well, that's been the norm almost lately. All right.
Well, yeah, it has been, hasn't it?
Yeah. Anything else anyone has to ask out there?
Yeah, anybody got any questions for Lee?
Can I say hi, Todd from Canada? Thank you.
No,
there you
Mary,
go, Todd.
you can't, but
you cannot. Don't speak on the phone again.
No, Mary's welcome anytime.
I'm gonna have to put Mary on as the face of the company because she's got a much prettier face than I do. I've got a face for radio.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
why I'm here.
Now, if I could just get her to get in the creek and do the shoveling so I can get some video of her running the machine.
There you go.
That'd give you a lot more views, but that won't happen.
Yes, that would. I'm sure it would get a lot more views. I mean,
just use her as clickbait.
Yeah.
Give me one of the women of prospecting.
There you go.
I've got to learn from Jeff Williams, I guess. Learn how to be entertaining and educational at the same time.
It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's rough when you're trying to, like with you trying to get you to explain your thing and still trying to keep everybody entertained.
Yeah.
And not have any dead air. Like, that's true.
Well,
okay, we talked about this. We talked about that.
And you want to be entertaining, but at the same time, don't get to the point where you're wacky and just.
Oh, wacky's okay too once in a while. Yeah, too bad with that. But at the same time, mostly, we want people to be educated on some of the new products and some of the new things coming out, and what makes people do this, kind of where we're at, and educate at the same time.
Right, and we were talking earlier about new products coming out, and I understand people being skeptical of new products. They should be. There's always somebody coming out with some new gimmick just trying to make a buck, and it is what it is. There's always going to be people that are trying to come up with something new and different. And
I haven't met anybody doing this yet that hasn't gotten a piece of equipment and gone, you know what? Maybe if I did this and that to it, it would work better for me. So we all think on the same lines as far as let's try to do this a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yep. And and every now and then something does come along, and being skeptical is not a bad thing. Just being closed-minded is a bad thing.
Right.
When you're to the point where you won't even look at something new, because new things come out all the time and sometimes they're better. I mean, heck, you guys showed me that gold claw this weekend, and I love the crap out of it.
Yeah. Well, like we were talking before, I've had one for a while, and I just never really quite got the hang of it. But over the weekend, I used it so much, I actually learned how to use it.
Well, and to me, even Dennis and everybody else has always said, well, it takes a little bit of getting used to it. I learned to pan entirely on my own. And that's exactly how I learned to use my pan, pretty much, was keeping it underwater, shaking it back and forth, just gradually tilting it up. So for me, the gold claw came pretty natural. And I brought it home, and instantly, first pan, I was catching and separating my gold from the black sand, and it just worked beautifully. I mean, it impressed the crap out of me.
Yeah, it impressed me too, And I've had one for a little while now. Well, I think when Clint did that buy one, get one deal on the radio show when he first came on, when he first brought it out, I got mine too, and I played with it a little bit, but, get frustrated, you put it down, and I haven't picked it up again. But this weekend we were demoing it, and we were just using that pan, for panning, and it finally clicked for me, and wow, what a nice job it does.
Yeah, and I did the exact same thing that I imagine a lot of people are doing with our product. I heard about the Gold Claw, how this is this great new pan, and went, okay, whatever. It's another gold pan. How much different can it really be? You know, it's another gimmick on the market. How much different can it really be? Until I saw it and I used it, and I'm sold because it works.
Right.
You know, and it's it's the same thing as I've had people tell me I'll wait a year or two until you work the bugs out of it, and I see what people say, and I
right. Well,
totally get it.
You see that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I get it too. And example of something that doesn't seem like it's gonna do very well, like with the Dream Mat over the weekend. I mean, we demoed all day for 2 days, showing people lots of questions, lots of cards passed out, lots of questions, lots of questions, but nobody bought any. And I can understand because, it's not a cheap mat. It's not outrageous either. But when you see something like that and you go, that looks like it might work, but I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money yet. Let me wait a little while and see what happens, So I felt kind of bad because I didn't really sell that many for all that I did. And then talking to David, he tells me, "No, dude, you did fine. You got it out there. You got people looking at it. They'll order from me, and that's fine too." So
yeah, yep, absolutely. Well, even Mike Pung with the Gold Cube, the first GPAA Gold show he did. Kevin Hogan told me, he came up to him after the show like, "Okay, what did I do? I think I screwed up because this thing's a bomb." He only sold one Gold Cube at the first event, the first show he went to. Now he's to the point where you go to a show and he's up at the raffle booth and he asks, how many people are here on a Gold Cube, and half the hands in the crowd go up.
Right. It takes time. So yeah, it takes time. So like with the Gold Claw pan, it's only been out a little while, and just about a year, I think.
Yeah, like Jaron said, Lee, do not drive over it, especially with anything heavier than my truck.
In other words, it'll stand up to an S10 or a Ranger, but don't try it with a 1 ton.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send that one back to Clint. Hey, Clint, it didn't hold up to a 1 ton truck.
He was in the live chat room of Dennis Dayton's Facebook Live when that happened.
Oh, was he?
And he went, "Okay, I told you to take it and test it. I didn't mean test it quite that severely."
Well, I did it with my truck, and it did it no problem. I drove over it a little faster and not stopped right on top of it, though. But I was confident it would take it. I can bend that thing, step on it, stomp on it, shovel with it. But you can shovel with almost any pan. But, I was confident in the product. So, what confidence can do to someone sometimes.
A little too much, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Definitely don't drive over it with your 18-wheeler there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to avoid that.
Yeah, Jared says, actually, don't even run over any of your equipment.
Yeah. We build our Gold Spinner to be pretty tough, but I probably don't recommend you running over it with your truck either.
Oh, that was a good laugh.
Yeah, it was live on Facebook. You could hear it. There was a loud pop.
Yeah.
Yep, right about that time you heard the pop, you went, "Okay, it didn't hold up to that."
Nope.
Oh.
Oh, well, it is what it is, and it ain't like I can't get another one. Oh, wait, I already got a couple. So, man, it is what it is.
Yeah, everything has its point. I mean, it's tough. Everything has its breaking point, you know. But yeah, I was messing with it today, and I was very, very impressed with it. I'm quite happy with it, and you know, and I totally understand people being skeptical and wanting to wait and kind of see what other people's results are with something. And I should have bought them when they were 2 for, buy one get one free.
They're a great pan. I'm glad, really happy you really like it, Lee. And the more you use it, the more you'll like it.
Oh, it's a great product. It does what it's supposed to do, and the part I like about it is I can get my gold completely clean very easily.
Oh yeah, that was a part that turned me on. Oh look, it's all up there in that nice little line, clean, no black sands in it.
Yeah, you just get that beautiful yellow line, and you can just snuff it right off of there, and you got clean gold.
Oh,
well, Jim Konopaki, we just bought a used cube. Yeah, I got some mat for you there.
Jim. He just said I want to add 2 dream mats to the setup, so I think you got a business there.
Well, you'll like it, Jim, and I'll accept your friendly request on Facebook here. I saw it today, I think, but I was eating up a lot of data, so I'll do it here after the show.
You can friend request me too, Jim, and I'll help you out with the dream mats for the mini mats for that. I have some available.
So. Just a couple?
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we could do you some kind of deal.
Well, gentlemen, it's getting late. We're pushing 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. I gotta wake up early. Lee, I appreciate you coming on very much.
Night with Ed and Jesse.
Yep, thanks, Lee. We will see you next time. We'll probably be at the Indiana Gold Show.
All right. Well, I look forward to it.
If not at the Crony Club outing.
All right. Well, if you guys
or the North, sure. If you come to the OSPA meeting, I'm cooking a hog.
Oh, that's right. When are you doing that? The end of this month, right?
End of this month. I'm cooking a hog out there at the North.
Oh, yeah, end of this month.
Oh, he says. Oh.
Yeah, we're going to be in California at the AMRA, and we probably won't be back in time to make that.
Bummer.
Because that's going to take us about 4 days to drive out there and then do the show, and then 4 or 5 days to get back. Maybe more if I meet the right people out there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lee. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on, and I appreciate it. And appreciate the time.
We appreciate you coming on. You're helping us out.
It's our pleasure. You're a friend with a great product. We enjoy your company. I thank you.
Well, anything I can do to help you guys.
And everybody tune in next week. We're having Thomas Fowlkes, who's in the chat room now, on as our guest.
Cool.
He's a fellow YouTuber and the Indiana State GPAA State Director for Indiana. So I hope to see a bunch of you here for that too.
Right. Maybe we'll figure out something to talk to Thomas about.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we can think of something.
Yeah, we'll try to figure something out to make him interesting.
About how he always wins.
Yeah, we'll talk about his winning.
Lucky dog, Ducky
he is
Thomas.
He is, but I tell you what, he's a great guy.
That he
yes,
is.
He
is.
That
he is.
He's
a great guy.
He's a great guy, and all you have to do is ask him to tell you how many things he's won, when, and how often, and you can fill a couple hours just with listening to.
Oh, just on that, huh?
Yep.
How did you get the name Lucky Ducky?
Yeah. Oh well. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you again, Lee, Mary, ToledoJess, and Dano.
Yes.
Until then, may you always have a flash in your pan.
You know what he always says.
I was waiting, Jesse. Maybe one
I
day
know.
Maybe one day too. Yep. We'll see you on the river.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night,
night all.
Boy.
Good night, Ed. Good night, Jesse.
Good night, Dano. Good night, Dad.
I think we lost Ed. He was already asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Are we off the air now? Or are we still on the air?
No.
Don't pay attention to that part where it says my tongue.
Oh, you get that part there?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
It's rolling the end credits now.
Yeah. I think they can still hear us too.
They can.
Okay.
We ain't talking bad.
No.
No, not at all. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Night all.
Jerry says still live.
I know, Jaron. They never get that part.
I was muted.